They greatly exceeded what they guaranteed for the first year. In both buildings, they doubled the utility savings figures. Hello, I'm John Hackett, a property manager. I currently work for Maxwell-Kates and manage a total of 8 buildings, including the Seymour condominium and the Warren House condominium. Warren House, unfortunately, has equipment that is past its useful life. A lot of it's very inefficient, so we're facing steep local law 97 fines. So Parity was unique in that it monitored building systems, saved energy, and also mitigated local law 97 fines. So by making the building run more efficiently, use less gas and electric, they thereby reduce their carbon emissions, which is what the local law 97 fines are based on. In addition to that, we also put money back in the building's pocket, so to speak.
Do you know any of the deciding factors that made the board work with Parity?
The payback incentives were a big part of it. So they got money as an incentive for installation. So they knew going into it, whether it be 1 year or 3 years, it would pay for itself. So that was kind of a no-brainer. They knew that it would save the building money. They would get money from the city to install it. So any kind of upfront cost they had to pay, they would be compensated for down the line through utility savings.
What do you like most about Parity service?
I really like the responsiveness. If I need any information about utility usage or a quarterly report, whatever it might be, I really love the kind of quick answers I get. I can always get someone on the phone. I always get an answer to my emails. I love that it gives the supers kind of a heads up when things are going wrong. So that way we're not reacting to bad news from people that live in the building. We can kind of get ahead of problems, and if a pump needs to be reset or anything like that, we can kind of handle that before it causes an issue that impacts the building. What's great about Parity is that a lot of times we are getting ahead of those kind of problems. So he'll say, whether it be Rudy at the Seymour, he'll say, hey, I got a notification from Parity, I had to reset pump 2, everything's back online. So usually it's kind of more of a, the problem's solved, we're finished with it, rather than, a unit owner told me they have no heat, and then we're trying to catch up and figure out what's wrong. Parity gives us more insight into how the building mechanical systems are operating and gives us a more control over, keeping things running as they should be.
What results have you seen from working with Parity?
We get these quarterly reports, which are awesome to share with the board. They very clearly explain in granular detail, this is the gas savings, this is the electric savings, what the savings are month by month, and then it does a side-by-side comparison of the projected savings versus the actual, which is very helpful to see in kind of a chart format. So I love those reports. They greatly exceeded what they guaranteed for the first year. In both buildings, they doubled the utility savings figures.
Can you tell me more about the interactions you have with the board revolving around Parity?
Well, thankfully, it's been pretty minimal. Usually if things are good news, you don't really talk about them too much. We'll just say, Parity has achieved or exceeded expectations for the first quarter of 2024. The system's running as it should be. So I think that when things go well, you don't have to dedicate a lot of time to talking about them. You kind of, that they were installed correctly, they're saving the building money, and then you can kind of move on to the next agenda item. So my experience is that only when there are problems do you really talk or have to discuss a lot with board members about it. But for the most part, I send over the reports. I say Parity has saved twice what we expected them to save, and they say great. And then we just kind of nod our heads and then continue on to the next thing.